let us go, let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful demonstrators all of a sudden realized that the whole thing had metamorphosed into criminality.
So
yes, when Kenyans came out on the streets to protest against the finance bill, it started as a usual protest until it threatened the state. You know, the way how a country is built, there is the state and there is the government. There is the total difference. A government can change, a government can fall, but the state must not fall. Because the day the state falls, it means that a country can run in anarchy. When Kenyans came out on the streets to protest, they had something to look up to. In fact, they are right to come out on the street and protest against the finance bill. But in the process of protesting, different individuals started to hijack the process. That's why we saw very many things happening. In fact, in this video, I've come to talk about why different individuals like UHURU Kenyatta and others started to hijack the process so that they can overthrow a legitimate government. And I'm going to give you the reason as to why. Before I give you the reason as to why I think UHURU Kenyatta and the system hijacked the protest against the finance bill, I want to let you know that if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. To understand this better, we must know that UHURU Kenyatta was the president of Kenya for 10 years, and his deputy was UHURU Kenyatta, and his deputy was RUTO. When UHURU Kenyatta was finishing his term, he never wanted his deputy to take over from him. In fact, he did everything possible to block William Ruto from ascending the presidency, using state machinery, using the army. Even at the day when the results were going to be announced, he sent the chief of the defense forces of Kenya, the IGP of police, to declare fake result, to which Chebukati refused. Among the reasons as to why General Francis Ogolo was killed is because he refused to do assignments of making a coup against William Ruto. I've ever done a video. If you missed it, I'm going to leave a link here in the description. When the protests in Kenya broke out, the same individuals who wanted William Ruto not to succeed to the presidency, they hijacked the process so that this protest can rage on and the state or the government of William Ruto could fail. Do you know why? To give you a clear example, barely a day when the protest was going on, UHURU Kenyatta outed a missive on the internet. And if you have eyes that can look through the walls, you clearly see that he was adding petrol on the flames. He was praying hard that the protest rage on so that William Ruto's government could fall. And William Ruto must be conversant. He must have the eyes on the ground. Before I talk about this further, I'm going to show you the document which was authored by UHURU Kenyatta. Here it is. First of all, when you read that document, you clearly see that it came from the office of the president. When you read it, let me put it on the full screen so that you can read it through. That is the document. It reads as follows: statement by His Excellency UHURU Kenyatta, 4th President of the Republic of Kenya. My fellow Kenyans, I come to you with heavy heart, saddened by the loss of lives occasioned by the current situation prevailing in our country. It is the right of every Kenyan to protest and determine as determined by the Constitution we all promulgated in 2020. It is also a duty of the leader to listen to those they lead. That is the first paragraph. First of all, he endorsed the protest. He went on to say that it is a right. By the way, it is within the right for people to protest. But when you're reading a letter, you must read the soul, okay, of the letter. You must read the motive, not a mere letter. He continued, at this trying time for our country, I want to remind all leaders that they were elected by the people. Listening to the people is not a choice but a mandate enshrined in the principle of our constitution and is the very basis of our philosophy of democracy. Leaders must know that power and authority they have is donated to them by the people. I therefore call for calm, for the leadership to show resistance, restraint, and do the right thing by listening to the people and not to be antagonized to them. Violence on the other side is not answered. As your former president, I have felt the weight and the difficulty of leading Kenya. I therefore pray for wisdom and civility to be established, and for peace, progress, to belong to all of us as children of Kenya. Dear Kenyans, I stand with you and I ask our leadership to embrace dialogue and speak to the people and not at the people. I pray for the peace and understanding of the part of each and every Kenyan, and for all of us to remember that Kenya is bigger than one of us. There is nothing cast in stone that cannot be changed. That is President William RUTO. Okay, that was President William RUTO when he talked, when he set out a missive barely a day when the protests were raging on. In fact, even if he had to put out this message, it was so early. When you look at the letter, the spirit of the letter was not good. You cannot come out barely a day and issue such a statement fueling the protest. Okay, that would be the last letter to come out from the former president. Okay, we had the protest in 2017. We had a re-election in 2017. Never was the day that Moi Kibaki came out with such letters mocking the administration of Uhuru. Okay, so this process of demonstrating was hijacked by the system. Remember, these are the people who think they must lead Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta, Gideon Moi, okay, Raila Amolo Odinga. They formed a system. They think they must lead Kenya and others should be subjugated. And if William RUTO does not up his game, he may be overthrown. He may be a one-term president. He may be overthrown. The difference I see in RUTO's government, where Rigathi Gachagua comes out to speak like the way he does, must be stopped. Okay, because this is what Uhuru wants. Okay, so this system was all hijacked by these people so that William RUTO can be overthrown. And William RUTO must be conversant that there is a bigger scheme to overthrow him. Okay, there's a bigger scheme to overthrow him. To show you more, amidst all the protest, there's a picture that surfaced presenting Matiang'i as the next president. And Matiang'i has a background of being the cabinet secretary for interior. He knows the security very well. In fact, Uhuru Kenyatta used Matiang'i for this protest, to hijack this protest. Although it was not successful, but Matiang'i is behind the Gen Z protest. At first, the youth had the right cause, but in the middle of these protests, some people are hijacking the process, and Uhuru Kenyatta is using Matiang'i to hijack the process. Amidst the process of protesting, a picture surfaced on social media. It shows wanted for president, Fred Matiang'i reward. Gen Z have endorsed Fred Matiang'i for president 2027. That was the picture that was put out. The Gen Z are endorsing Fred Matiang'i. In politics, nothing is done by mistake. Why is it that among the people who were produced amid the protest to endorse the presidency was none other than Fred Matiang'i, the former cabinet secretary, who was, by the way, the substantive deputy during Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure. He was the substantive deputy when William RUTO was chased away from cabinet, was relieved of his duties. So you clearly see that the Gen Zs were hijacked by Uhuru Kenyatta through Fred Matiang'i. Fred Matiang'i is as an expert in security, being held the office of Interior for very many years. And William Ruto must be conversant with this. He must be well conversant with this, because if he's not very well conversant, he will be overthrown unexpectedly. So the Gen Z protest, which was, by the way, called for because the bill had introduced too much taxes, was hijacked by the system to overthrow William Ruto. They are playing their battles, so Kenyans must be well conversant. William Ruto must now come out hard against Uhuru Kenyatta, tactfully, of course. Okay. Other than that, William Ruto will be overthrown. The next reason as to why I think William Ruto, the protest of Gen Z was hijacked by self-seekers. We all know that Kenya has always been leaning to the east, working well with China. The recent trip to United States of America also stretched people the wrong way. We all know that USA is the biggest power in the world. In fact, no African country has ever gotten a state visit for the last 14 years except Kenya. And by getting a state visit from the biggest powerhouse in the world, it was a plus, and it rubbed people the wrong way. The first person to rub the wrong way is Uhuru Kenyatta, because he saw that William Ruto was going to get very much development from the state visit, which could surpass his. So he's working underneath to overthrow William Ruto's government. There's an hand. Okay. We all know that Kenya is the biggest powerhouse in East Africa, the biggest economy, the biggest democracy. When Kenya sneezes, most East African countries catch cold. So William Ruto is projecting power of Kenya, and it is rubbing people the wrong way. This is why they are coming out and hijacking the process, which would have been good, by the way, for the youth to ask for accountability from leaders, but they are hijacking it. Okay. In fact, even William Ruto talked about this. He said these statements.
We had information, and that is why we prepared in the manner in which we did. If we hadn't prepared in the manner in which we did, we would not be counting 19. We would be counting different numbers.
Okay.
And I am telling you that the level of mobilization by criminals was heavy. In fact, many of the peaceful protesters, many of the young people, very well-meaning young people, left the town by 10, maybe 11, because they realized, and in fact you could hear them in their zelo. They were saying, guys, we are this is not our group. Let us go. Let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful demonstrators all of a sudden realized that the whole thing had metamorphosed into criminality.
So
that is William Ruto. You clearly see that there is an hand. So William Ruto must up his game. He must fight hard. He must protect his deputy, Gachagua, because Gachagua is a great fighter. If Gachagua is speaking the way he speaks at this mature time, William Ruto is going to be exposed. Trust me. Because Gachagua is seen as a kingpin in Mountain Kenya right now, because of holding the highest office in the land. People like Mudavadi and Wetangula have less impact on Ruto's presidency because they didn't even bring 30% of the Luhya votes. So you cannot count on them. William Ruto must keep the ears on the ground so that he can work with his deputy to buttress his leadership. Other than that, he will be overthrown. Of course, that's my opinion. Do drop me your comments by commenting about this. Thank you very much for listening in. If this is your first time on this YouTube channel, I implore you to subscribe, like, and comment so that you can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.